So welcome everyone.
Today.
Welcome. So let us start taking an overlap with the previous lines. Maybe starting from this page, page number 77. A conscious soul live in a conscious world. So anyone who feels ready?
Can I?
Yes, please, Raviji.
Yeah.
Yes.
A conscious soul live in a conscious world as through a mist, a sovereign peak is seen. The greatness of the eternal spirit appeared, exiled in a fragmented universe amid half semblances of diviner things.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to read next?
Now could serve no more his regal turn, the immortal's pride refused the doom to live, a miser of the scanty bargain made between our littleness and bounded hopes, and the compassionate infinitudes.
His height repelled the lowness of earth's state, a wideness discontented with its frame, resiled from poor ascent to nature's terms, the harsh contract spurned and the diminished lease.
Only beginnings are accomplished here. Our basis matter seems alone complete, an absolute machine without a soul, or all seems a misfit of half ideas, or we saddle with the vice of earthly form, a hurried, imperfect glimpse of heavenly things, guesses and travesties of celestial types.
Here, chaos sorts itself into a world, a brief formation drifting in the void, apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power, flamings of beauty into earthly shapes, love's broken reflexes of unity, swim fragment mirrorings of a floating sun, a packaged assemblage of crude tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this was where we stopped, uh, looking at when Ashwapati has this greater, higher realization of who he truly is. The way we live in ordinary human consciousness, it appears very repulsive to him. That just like, I think Jatsunma Tenzin Parmo also, she shares that the compassion that arises of enlightened beings because they see us, the ordinary beings, being actually Buddha natured, truly Buddha natured, truly divine, but we live like beggars. And when one has realized that truth for himself, then when one sees the similar people who could be divine, but how do we usually live, then compassion arises. So Ashupati feels at once repelled, kind of repulsive to the way we live in ordinary human state. And yet later on he has hope, that I can bring, it is possible to bring that light to each grain and material and the mental and physical and even vital. So each part of our being, each part of this earth consciousness can turn into divine because he has glimpsed that divinity within. Usually we live not knowing that we are divine. We think that maybe there are few people who are avatars and they are divine, but me, no, I am such a limited, ordinary fellow. There is nothing much in me. So we keep on limiting ourselves with these kind of thoughts, and we also stick to our lowliness. We stick to our lower, just because rising above needs a bit of effort, and we rather put effort in the monotonous routines rather than putting the true effort at the true place. So Ashupati is just, so here Sri Aurobindo is sharing with us that what all is the ordinary state of human consciousness. How do we live usually? Here, chaos sought itself into a world, a brief formation drifting in the void, like a mechanical something going on, like drifting, no meaning, no purpose. And most of us are actually living purposeless. And it may be very, now it's more awakening, maybe that's happening, but usually at 30, 40 years of age, we wonder, what is my purpose of being? I have money, I have wealth, I have accumulated this and that, but why am I here? Because that doesn't satiate us, that doesn't satisfy us. So as if we are just mechanically drifting around in this vast void that is this universe. Apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power. So whatever knowledge even we get, these are just mimicry of some knowledge which has already been there. There's hardly any true knowledge that we are able to receive. We have knowledge from the books, knowledge from pre-existing Vedas, scriptures, but where is the true knowing, true knowledge that comes in accord when we realize our true self? So whatever knowledge we have, they are apings of knowledge, mimicry, like apes mimic, for example, human beings. Apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power, and whatever even strength we have, they are not having a full curve. In the middle they break, kind of, I can't handle anymore. Flamings of beauty into earthly shapes, love's broken reflexes of unity. And we were reflecting upon these lines last time, that one power that holds the whole universe together is love, the divine love. But even divine love gets distorted when it gets mixed with our ignorance. So whatever, even in love, in relationships, whatever oneness we have, they're just very brief and fleeting. And he compares it with love's broken reflexes, means reflections of unity, swim, fragment mirrorings of a floating sun. So just like, you have a sun, and how would it have its reflection in, for example, a pond or a lake? It will be broken, it will appear broken because of the waves and ripples that are there. So that's how we have reflections of love. Those are also broken, they are not complete. It's like a satisfaction comes and a satisfaction leaves us. Oneness is there and the oneness leaves us. So fragment mirrorings of a floating sun. There is a truth. Sun of divine love is there. But because of ignorance and pervading ego consciousness, whatever there is just fragment reflections, mirrorings of this divine love, the sun of divine love. A packed assemblage of crude tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole. So the way we live as imperfect human beings, all of us, we have full of imperfections, full of something's good also. It's not that imperfection is that something there is good, but it's not truly there where we are supposed to be. And we think that we are not able to change ourselves. So it's like, imagine that there is a piece, like a small piece of wood or tile or something, of stone you have, and it's imperfect on the edges. So that's how we are, all of us. And we take very great courage, not courage really, take very great pride in saying human beings are all imperfect. You must have seen this sentence come up again and again. But after all, I am a human being. That's how we limit ourselves. We think that we are supposed to be imperfect. And the moment I say that after all, I am a human being, I'm limiting myself. I'm saying, no, I can't do beyond this. And that's how we are pieced together, all of us, an assemblage of crude, tentative, means everything is changing in our lives. Our thoughts, feelings, opinion, ideas, even personalities. We will see that we will have a different personality when we were young, adult, and as we grow up, personalities also keep on changing. So these are tentative lives. They're not yet fully perfect. Imperfection is there, so they keep on evolving. And yet they are, how they are grouped together, as if a tessellated whole, like you have these stones, pieces of stones which are imperfect from the edges, and if you cement them together and make a design out of it, that's how we are put together by this outer force of nature. That maybe I'm born in one family, so we are put together, all this packed assemblage of crude tentative lives. So that is how we live. And then he continues with this description of the ordinary human state. We'll see what he has to say today. Yeah. So anyone who wants to go and read the new lines for today? Nandini, would you like to read since you joined in late?
Right. Yeah. So, there is no perfect answer to our hopes. There are blind, voiceless doors that have no key. Thought climbs in vain and brings a borrowed light. Cheated by counterfeits sold to us in life's mart. Our hearts clutch at a forfeited heavenly bliss. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So all of us have hopes that one day, for example, if I change my house, how peaceful I would be. If only I change my job, something new will happen. If only I get married, if only I have a child, if only my child gets into a, for example, university, if only this person I receive in my life or gets back in my life. These are our hopes. And he says there is no perfect answer to our hopes. If only I create this formula for myself. There is no perfect answer that we are able to get. Whatever we get are just imperfect, some rudimentary, time pass satisfactions with these hopes. Or although we plan our best, we plan that, okay, if I do this, then the best would happen. But often unexpected happens, and which we have not planned. It is not part of our plan. And the plannings and whatever I had planned, it takes a back seat because some things happen which were not calculated, which were not part of my plan. So there is no perfect answer to our hopes. There are blind, voiceless doors that have no key. So it's not that we at times don't have a glimpse of, oh, maybe this could work. Maybe if I do this in this situation, that could work. We do get glimpses, but then these are blind, voiceless doors. They have no key. We don't know how to execute that idea in our practical life. So it's not that at times we may not have glimpses to good ideas for our hopes, how to manifest our hopes in our lives, how to create a perfect harmony in the house or a perfect harmony in the workplace, perfect harmony in the being. We may have glimpses, but these glimpses are like he's looking at them like blind, voiceless doors. They are mute and they are blind and that have no key. We don't know how to open these, and they themselves don't say anything. That how do I execute this plan? Thought climbs in vain and brings a borrowed light. And the only instrument we usually in our ordinary consciousness have is thought. Okay, let's analyze. Tark, vitark, kutark. Let's analyze, rationalize. Let's reason around it. Let's question it. The only chance that we have, we think, is thought. But he says, thought climbs in vain. We do try to sort things out or transcend our problems. And what it does is, it brings a borrowed light. So whatever little solutions I get through my thinking mind, it's only a borrowed, it's a reflection of what true harmony, true beauty, true solution could be. It's a borrowed light. It's not the true light which can bring harmony in my life. And Sri Aurobindo says that if we don't silence the mind, usually the active and straining mind that we have, that restlessly agitatedly looking at a problem, okay, let me fix it, let me go to the root of it. That's how we usually look at a problem. It's in an active state of straining. But that is not how we access the higher planes of mind, which are intuitive mind, the illumined mind, the higher mind, where the knowledge is more perfect than our limited thinking mind. So if we want true harmony, true beauty, true solutions to arise, then we will have to silence our minds so that the mind can serve as a receptacle for the greater light to dawn. There is no other way to receive the supramental light. And supramental may appear like a big word, but let us not shy away from it, because it's just greater harmony. It's a harmony, it is a light which can unite even the opposites. But if I want that light, then I'll have to make my mind still to be able to receive that higher, greater knowledge. So thought climbs in vain. It's not that we don't try, but all that we are able to bring with this thinking, sensing, perceiving mind is a borrowed light. And our hearts, emotions, the passions, when we love a person, when we have relationships, when we have passions in life, they clutch at a forfeited heavenly bliss. So somehow we want that divine ananda which we have left when we took this bodily form. All of us want that, crave for that, but we don't know that we are craving for that. And all that we get in this mortal ordinary consciousness is we are cheated by counterfeits. It's like, imagine that you have an original uh, folk traditional something, some miniature handicraft, and then there are plastic versions of it. You have factory made versions of it, just like, one example is these singing bowls, Tibetan singing bowls. One is this handmade very heavy singing bowl which are handcrafted traditionally, full of this brass, heavy brass. Their sound is also different. And one is uh, a copy of it, machine made copy of it, so counterfeit. So although we are looking for ananda even in relationships, and when we follow our passions, when we have love in our life, but all that we get is we are cheated by counterfeits. Very soon we realize that, oh my god, this was not it. And we have examples, how badly we wanted to get to a person, how badly we wanted to get married, to get a child, but we know, how fleeting these satisfactions are. So we continue to miss that delight, that ananda, because we continue to live in the desire self, which always is lacking. It's full of begging, keeps on begging all the time. And we think that that is my true self. And living as the desiring self, living as the egoistic self, we continue to miss the true delight that still we can partake of. And all that we get is these counterfeits. We deceive ourselves, we get glimpses, but they are so fleeting that they don't satiate our hearts. So it's like we do a bargain, we are always making transactions. And in all our transactions, all that we get, at times it may appear very glittery. We get very enchanted either by a person or a new job, that now I will have a life which is fulfilling. Very soon it turns very disappointing. So cheated by counterfeits, sold to us, and so much we give. We burn our ass in and out to buy those things that we think that they will fulfill us. Cheated by counterfeits, sold to us in life's mart. Our hearts clutch at a forfeited heavenly bliss. So anything here, anyone?
Hi, Monica. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I think what yes, I was just thinking that so it's like this, like you long for meaningful conversations, right? I mean, most of us, and then you find it much later, but you don't find it with everybody. It's like going to, I was just thinking the other day, we were invited to a, yeah, you go to a party, right? Somebody's birthday, but the only conversations that happens at the end of it is just, okay, how are you? But truly, to ask someone how are you, or and to receive a truthful answer, it may be anything. I mean, not just about that I'm fine, or I'm not fine, but I think that's something that I felt that day, so sometimes, and then they feel so fleeting, right? I mean, there's not much uh, that either you have received or you have, sort of shared. You just go and there is this, yeah, just fleeting sort of conversations happening, and you come back, and that's about it, right? So yeah, so it's like this, like the, the counterfeit, and we long for that heavenly bliss, but yes, yeah, our thoughts are also that little thought also that comes, that borrowed, and then yeah, the counterfeits a soul to us in life smart.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, anyone else? Yeah. There is one couplet by Kabir ji, Sant Kabir, and he says, हृदय माही आरसी और मुख देखा नहीं जाए, मुख तो तभी देखिए जब दिल की दुविधा जाए. So he says that who you truly are, you can know by looking into your heart. And there is a mirror in your heart, deep in your heart, there is a mirror which will tell you who you truly are. But why we can't see that face, the true reflections of ours, is because the mind is so clouded by thoughts and feelings. So, this divine heavenly bliss that we all crave for, this can't be experienced. We can't partake of it just because our mind is clouded. It's not that it is 24/7 not there, just like sky is 24/7 there. But when clouds are there, you can't see the color of the sky. So again, we come to quietening and calming down the being. With an agitation which wants to get somewhere, will always be clouded. And again, referring Kabir, he says, Pani mein meen pyasi. So again, I am a fish in the water and still I am thirsty. We are swimming in bliss. But if now I say this sentence that we are swimming in bliss, we won't be able to agree to it. Where is the bliss? One may ask. All I see is my problems, my complicated, confused minds. There are so many things which are not right. And here he says that the bliss is spread everywhere. The creation is based on bliss. But we can't find it, we can't look at it, or we can't see it because we are clouded. In our mind, we are clouded, in our vital, we are clouded. So, this clouding the haze has to disappear so that we see clearly. And Kabir ji, again, sorry, again keep on referring to, because he has given us so many pointers here and there. He says that thanks to my true guru who gave me true vision, like he told me how to see. So he disappeared, because of his words, the haze disappeared from my eyes, and now I am able to see. It's not that something has to be gotten from somewhere, the divine bliss has to be, come from somewhere. They say that it is right here, but if only we can stop our identification with the issues and problems and storylines in the head, in the heart, what is lacking, me, my story, if only that disidentification can happen, then coming back home, we can partake of that bliss, which is irrespective of outer conditions. So whether I have something in outer life which is satisfying and very fulfilling or not, I have connection with that inner bliss. That is a possibility for each one of us. So our hearts clutch at a forfeited heavenly bliss. Anything? Anyone? Any comments before we begin the new lines? Okay, I think we'll maybe take up these two lines first and then go into the next one. So anyone would like to read?
Yeah, I'll read.
Yes, please.
There is a provender for the mind's satiety. There are thrills of the flesh, but not the soul's desire.
Yeah, thank you. So provender is animal food. So for the satisfaction of our wants and needs and expectations and whatever even the mind is needed, the intellectual gratifications that we may get after a long discussion, when we have a so-called relevant discussion, there is a kind of intellectual gratification that we get, those of us who may have observed. So he says that there is provender for the mind's satiety. So all that we have, the only gratification that the mind gets is very kind of limited, trivial food, animal food, for example, that is not enough for us. So these intellectual discussions, for example, we may talk for 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hours, even a whole day on a topic, that we decide, okay, today we will reflect upon this topic. But all that we usually have reflections upon, they are so limited. So no matter how long I may discuss, we may get an intellectual gratification. We will see that if I discuss on an issue, either from my own life or looking at other people's life, if I pick up one issue and talk on it, for example, for about 1 hour, you will see that the mind gets a certain kind of gratification. But that is so fleeting again, this gratification, that it's not enough for the true contentment and fulfillment of this mind, because still it is very fleeting and the mind again is hungry for more. So there is provender for mind's satiety, and there are thrills of flesh but not the soul's desire. Thrills of flesh are things that come through senses. Something that you heard, for example, a beautiful piece of music, how long does it stay with us? How long the satisfaction stays with us? In that moment, one may be truly satisfied, contented, in bliss, listening to that piece of music, or even singing, or eating something that you have made, or you're eating from outside, delicious, really. For those few minutes, you are in bliss, heavenly bliss almost. But how long does it last? So they are thrills of senses. Something exciting comes, some maybe joy rides that we go through, things that we feel and touch and taste through the senses. There are thrills of the flesh. Yes, there are. But the soul is still unfulfilled, in the sense that we don't care what is my deepest aspiration. And that deepest aspiration is lying ignored in the corner of my house while I attend to the daily routine and mundane and everything, and the daily needs of the flesh, roti, kapda or makan. So while I am busy attending this, which is a lifetime of a process, one can never get free from roti, kapda and makan. There will always be the next meal that you have to think about. Always, If we sleep at night, then there is what do we make for breakfast? If we make for breakfast, what do we make for the lunch? If lunch has been done, the snack, evening, who to invite for, what to cook. So there would be always enough to keep us busy. And we can never wait for this to get over, that once the roti kapda makan gets over, then I will attend to what my deepest aspiration is. That's what we usually do. So there are thrills of the flesh. Yes, roti kapda makan has a certain thrill. It may be, how exciting to get new car, how exciting it to get new house, new curtains, new bed sheets. It is exciting when we are doing it. They are thrills, but they are so fleeting and temporary. They don't last long. And still we remain hungry. Why? Because the soul's need was not met. The soul's aspiration, why I came in this life, that's that aspiration is lying unattended. Because I think that no, let me fulfill my son or my daughter, they need me right now. And it's not that we don't get time, we do get time, but there is so much trivia in our life that keeps us occupied that we never really, it's rare to truly live for soul's aspirations, truly live for a day fully lived for soul's aspirations. So that's how we live. He's giving us a description of the ordinary state of human consciousness. That's how we live. Anything here? Anyone? It may pain, actually. It pains when we read these lines, but then he gives us a higher note also, because that's not, this is the way we live, but that's not our highest possibility. So towards the end, he would give us a high note for those of us who may be feeling sadness at the description of how we live. And I think it's good to feel that sadness, because that's how I rise. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Nandini.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? In that fleeting is so, yeah, it truly makes you so much more sort of aware and, yeah. And I can literally feel the clutch in my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, good. I think it's a good direction. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
I didn't hear. Sorry, you said something, Monica?
Yeah, I said it's a good direction to feel
Yeah.
that clutch. Yeah,
Yeah.
good to move from our
Yeah,
dullness. Yeah,
right.
yes. So thanks. Yes. Anyone who would like to read the next lines in yellow?
Here, even the highest rapture time can give is a mimicry of ungrasped beatitudes, a mutilated statue of ecstasy, a wounded happiness that cannot live, a brief felicity of mind or sense, thrown by the world power to her body slave, or a simulacrum of enforced delight in the seraglios of ignorance.
Yeah, thank you. So the highest rapture, this divine delight, the bliss, highest rapture in this mortal consciousness that we can get, here even the highest rapture time can give is a mimicry of ungrasped beatitudes. So there is something which is unknown, there is something which is beyond us, there is something which is yet unrealized. But because the limited mind and limited feelings are unable to reach there and unable even to know that they exist, the only thing that we get here in our mortal ordinary consciousness, the way we usually live, is a mimicry. It's like a copy which is not a very good copy. When we do mimicry, we almost make fun of things when we are mimicking somebody. Mimicry of ungrasped beatitudes. So that's our highest rapture. Now refer it to any delight that we have in our lives, 30, 40, 20, 50 years of life and more, we have glimpses of many, many delights that we have gotten on the way. And all these are nothing but mimicry in front of what truly is there. So the highest rapture time can give, time bound body that we have, since we are identified with that time bound body, is a mimicry of ungrasped beatitudes, beatitudes which are beyond our grasp. We can't, we may experience it fleetingly, but we can't hold on to it. It just gives a glimpse and moves away. And again, the dark cloak of ignorance is back. A mutilated statue of ecstasy. So refer it to, say, for example, in Greek tradition, we have these big giant statues, great works that are displayed in, say, museums in Italy, France, everywhere, and mutilated, because the wars happened and they were mutilated. One hand gone, maybe the leg is gone. So that is how we have the rapture in this mortal consciousness. It's a mutilated statue of ecstasy. It's divine bliss in a distorted form. And that too, not only distorted, but even mutilated. It's cut from here and there. It's very limited. And when there is something mutilated, it also becomes ugly. It's not the true beauty that would be possible when the figure is complete. A wounded happiness that cannot live. So all that we get in worldly life is a wounded happiness. Imagine, take relationships. How we have seen that how relationships turn sour. One time you were hankering after that person, to be together with that person. And how soon, because of our ego consciousness, they turn sour and bitter. So wounded happiness. We feel hurt in our relationships. So we may have good times, but they are wounded, wounded good times. A wounded happiness that cannot live. It's not, again, as Nandini was pointing at, is fleeting, comes and goes. Even when I have a very, say for example, very good conversation, how long that satisfaction lasts? It goes away and some other problem comes up in my life. A brief felicity of mind or sense. So this, through mind, through sense, whatever we receive, it's only a fleeting joy, fleeting felicity we get. Brief felicity of mind or sense. Even when we may have experiences in meditation or the therapies that we do, one day I may be feeling like on the top of the world, wow, what an experience. And it fades away in few days. I'm back to my ignorant self. It may have done its purpose. It's not that it doesn't change me, but yet that I can't sustain that high. That high seems to me like something of the far world that is beyond me. And my usual state is this ordinary human consciousness. That's how we would ordinarily live. A brief felicity of mind or sense. And he's saying that as if it's thrown by a world power. Imagine that there is a big magnanimous lady and she's kind of throwing some scraps for the dogs, and the dogs very happily eat them and jump on them. So that's how we are the dogs, the body slave, we in our mortal consciousness, and whatever little felicity we get, we jump at it, we grasp at it. So the world power throws these scraps to us and we jump at it, and yet they are very fleeting. The mind can only grasp and sustain a little, the sense only can sustain a little. We are weak in our senses, weak in our thoughts also. We can't stably take that bliss, whatever is given. So very brief, fleeting moments. Or what is the highest rapture that time can give? Or a simulacrum of enforced delight in the seraglios of ignorance. So seraglios is a reference to, for example, in a palace, there is a place where king and queen and others, their family members, they are having very good luxury. All the comforts are there. So the maximum that we can get is enforced delight. That, for example, I get a car, and now when I drive that car, it gives me delight. So it's an enforced delight. I'm forcing myself to, kind of drive it so that I get some delight. All the things of luxury, the gadgets we may have at home with hard earned money that I have gotten, the screens I may have at home, and I put myself into it to get some delight. So enforced delight, and that too a simulation. It's like only a mimicry, only a reflection of the true delight in the seraglios of ignorance. So I live still in ignorance. My palace is ignorance. It's not that my state of being changes. And yet, whatever in this state of being I get are these little glimpses here and there, which are not enough. I still feel hungry. I still feel thirsty for more. Yes, this is how we live. Yes, anyone wants to share anything here? Okay, so if there is no reflection, please, would anyone like to read?
Can I read?
Yeah, please.
For all we have acquired soon loses worth. An old disvalued credit in time's bank, imperfections check drawn on the inconscient, and inconsequence dogs every effort made, and chaos waits on every cosmos formed. In each success, a seed of failure lurks.
Yeah, thank you. So when he sees this, when we see that, oh my God, it's such an imperfect state that we live. It's good that we arrive at a state of disenchantment. Although disenchantment is also a brief stage in our evolution, but I think it's good that this disenchantment should come. That this brief world, mortal consciousness, the ordinary consciousness, can't give me the contentment that I'm looking for. So a disenchantment comes, disenchantment comes, and it tells me that yes, I can't bank upon uh, these fleeting appearances. I can't imagine that a work would give me the satisfaction I need. I can't base it on any relationship. I can't base it on any material property, material possession, because everything changes and it leaves me still unsatisfied. Everything still feels very little in front of my hunger that is there for joy, delight, and contentment. So, a kind of a disenchantment is bound to come, which is good as a brief stage in between, but there is more to it. So, what happens? For all we have acquired soon loses worth. Now we have acquired, all these phases in our life. Remember how badly we wanted to get into a college when we were studying, and when we got into a college, what a wonderful acquisition it was. That wow, look, what have I cleared? GRE, GMAT, all these exams, how brilliant. And very soon it loses worth. So at one point of time, which was so important for me, even a relationship, look at it. We had relationships in our lives which we had craved for. But when we got them, it was as if anticipation far exceeded the actual event. Something like that. It's a Peanut Snoopy dialogue that I'm using. So in one of the cartoon, this dog, Snoopy, he says that anticipation far exceeded the actual event. So we anticipate that what glory, what delight, what lasting contentment this will bring me if only I get this. But haven't we seen that how easily everything loses value, the way imperfectly it is right now? So for all we have acquired soon loses worth. Look at things that we have accumulated in our house. some gadgets here and there, some photo frames here and there, maybe a bed sheet that you have a memory of. In that moment when we were buying or getting that, it held a special value. But very soon, since our hunger is so great, it loses worth and we then jump to something else. So for all we have acquired, soon loses worth. Even 90% marks, 98% marks at one point of time, we may have acquired. All the things on our CV, these kind of positions held by me, these kind of responsibility. But very soon, it loses its value. It's not enough. An old disvalued credit in time's bank. So what is the bank? The bank is the bank of time. And in time, everything is fleeting, changing, things move. And all the credit that we may have, it is disvalued. It's not of value anymore. Remember the time when this demonetization was happening. So much of value just, even now we have, earlier we used to have these 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupee coins. Now we see that these notes are just going away. We don't see these little notes anymore. They have lost their value. At the same time, they were so important at one point of time. So an old disvalued credit, now it has no more good value in time's bank, where everything keeps on changing. Imperfections check drawn on the inconscient. So where are we drawing? What is the bank where we are drawing this check? It's the inconscient bank, where we hardly are conscious of the things. We live in ignorance, and in ignorance we make these transactions, which very soon lose their value. And then we wonder, many a times we may have craved for a marriage or a relationship, and then after 2 years I'm wondering, oh my God, what on the earth I have done. I've even given away my freedom for this relationship, and look, what has it given? Why? Because all my steps are in ignorance. I think that I am being very clever, but my own cleverness comes back at me very soon. So these are imperfections check. The way we live, the way we think and feel, they are all imperfect ways. And I'm drawing the check on inconscient. That which is dark, dull, of which I have no knowledge of. So in this state, when we do our transactions in ignorance, what happens? And in consequence, dogs every effort made. So whatever effort I make in my ignorant state, dog is a very loyal animal. It follows its master. So when I make an effort, what is following me like a dog? In consequence, I do not get the desired results. Unpredictability follows my effort. I do something else, I plan for something else, but I get what I never really planned for. And I feel disappointed. I did not sign up for this, I say. I signed up, I talk to my friends who are maybe married with a lot of hope that I will get a companionship and this and that. But then very soon disappointment comes that I did not sign up for this. I signed up I thought that we will be companions in this journey of life, but I don't see any connection. So the plan was that if I get married, this is what I would get. But since the decisions are made in ignorance, what follows in the wake of my effort? Inconsequence. They don't compare it with the results that I created in my head, that this should happen and that should happen, and this is the way we will live. That's not the way we live, because the ignorance rules. When I'm making that decision, it's not made in light and full consciousness. It's made in ignorance. So unpredictable things happen. And chaos waits on every cosmos form. So cosmos is like a little, say for example, manifestation. that we make for ourselves, like a little house, 4 of us, 3 of us, me and my little family, me and my little beautiful workplace. And what we do is we wall it, we create walls around it so that it remains protected. This is my cosmos. But the very soon we create something in this ignorant state, chaos awaits. We have seen how things change from a very beautiful honeymoon harmony in the beginning to discomfort, disharmony, and unease. So I may have thought of a beautiful creation, but since it is all ignorant thoughts that I have, and I am disconnected from my source the way we usually live, chaos awaits. Very soon things change into their opposite. Love turns into hate or jealousy. Friendship turns into pride, vanity, hating each other at times. Why? Because we live in ignorant states. And in each success, a seed of failure lurks. So we may have successes in life, but very soon we see that we don't even realize that there is a seed of failures lurking around the corner in so-called success. Very soon the success fades away and we see that, oh my God, what a big blunder have I created. That may again change. But it's not what he wants to say here is that it's not lasting success. It doesn't last. That high does not last. Because there is a mixture of egoistic consciousness. We are not realized beings. We live from egoistic state thinking that I am the ego. And we don't even notice the ego in operation. We blindly follow its operation. We think that's the true me. That's how I truly am. But that's not we truly are. Because if we truly were ego consciousness, weren't we be satisfied with that? Why would there be this hunger for something more? And if there is an hunger for something more, then there must be something more, which I'm missing, not attending to right now. Yeah, so anything here, anyone? Okay, so I'm assuming nothing and taking it forward, last 3 lines, and after that we can maybe end or maybe take more. I don't know how many are there. Let's see. So these 3 lines we can take first. Would anyone like to read?
Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Yes, Sartaji.
He saw the doubtfulness of all things here, the incertitude of man's proud, confident thought, the transience of the achievements of his force. Thank you.
Thank you. So then he sees the way we live, the way the ordinary consciousness makes us live. And he sees that it's so doubtful. You can't trust any situation. Anything changes, turns into its opposite in the world of duality. And it's so doubtful that the joy, for example, I may have right now, that it will last. And then suffering comes again in its wake. Pleasure turns into pain. That which I considered good turns into bad. Health changes into disease. So he saw that nothing is found to last. Everything is fleeting here. He saw the doubtfulness of all things here. That we can't trust on anything. And we see this in our relationship that I feel that I can't trust. Even those who I trusted the most, they backfired at times. So I don't know who to trust. He saw the doubtfulness of all things here, the incertitude of man's proud, confident thought. So when we are having an idea or a judgment or a conclusion about a certain thing, how proudly we declare. And have you seen that arrogance of human mind? All of us, none exclusive. We are so confident. No, I know this is how it is. I know that is how the person is. We are so proudly arrogant about our conclusions. And he sees that incertitude in our arrogant conclusions. Because we have such a limited window to see and experience and feel that it's a big, not even big doubt, but it's impossible that we know the larger picture. Yet when we are making those statements, we are so certain. We are so certain about our conclusions, about people, about life situations, about my own self. So this certainty, surety of thoughts is what keeps us glued to our thinking. And when we are beaten down by life's blows, and when some of us may have that realization that, yes, I can't trust my thoughts, then it's very easy to bring the mind home and center it in silence. Because now, when every time the mind will go into the forest of thought, we will know that how vain and futile it is to go there, because we can't trust them. Now the thought is saying this, next day the opinion will say something else, completely opposite at times. What do I trust? So I think it's a beautiful phase to experience in one's life, to be unsure of oneself, one's thinking. I'm talking about thinking and what we are feeling, even feelings. We think that, no, I am feeling this about that person, it must be true. How can you be sure? Feelings deceive. Didn't you feel the same for that person many years ago? Now, where is that feeling gone? So, the incertitude, we see that the feelings and thoughts are so fleeting, they don't give us the truth. And I can't take that for certitude. That can't be taken as a ground. My thoughts, my feelings, what I sensed through my body and through my feelings. So the incertitude of man's proud and confident thought, I know, the transience of the achievements of his foes. And even with all the might and strength that I may have possibility of right now, whatever I may do, what is it in front of one tsunami? Nothing. 150-story building, world twin towers, might that human beings have achieved. What is it in front of one lightning? Nothing. And even when we send out these probes in space, scientists have to be very careful, because there are electric kind of, it's like an electric shower going on in space. What is my probe that I'm trying to send to Jupiter in front of that electric shower? One shower and it's gone. So it's not that these things don't have a proper right place in the growth of human evolution, but we can't bank upon them completely for the joy, the delight, and the lasting contentment that we are looking for. We have to look somewhere else. That's what he's pointing at. That whatever we create through our might and strength, it's always transient. No matter how beautiful and how much of blood and money I have put in there, it's fleeting. Even our children, we can say, our children, they are part of our body, but we know that we hardly have any control. So that's again continuing with the description of how in the mortal, ordinary human consciousness, the state of being is on this terrestrial existence. And I think we will complete this later in the next session maybe. And then he looks further that that's not all that we have. There is more where we can identify ourselves. That's how we live, but that's not our destiny. We don't have to keep living like that forever. So is it okay if we stop here or with everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks everyone. If there are any reflections,
Thank you.
please
Yeah.
share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome.